Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Ireland once again, and we're going to revisit a brewery that you've seen me review a couple of times before. So for this review we are heading to a little place called Ballymote in County Sligo over on the west coast, and we're doing another visit to the White Hag Brewing Company. We're going to have a taste of the little Fawn today. This one is their Session IPA, which comes in at 4.2% ABV, and it should be quite nice actually. I've heard good things about this beer. The last beer that I reviewed from the White Hag was the Atlantean, which was a New England IPA, and that was really pretty good actually, so very curious to see how this one turns out. I think that these guys are probably one of the more recognisable Irish craft beer brands these days, and I think if I remember correctly too, they were the first Irish craft brewery that really appeared in the shops over here in Scotland, along with like Farmageddon and things like that. So cool to return to this brewery after I think about a year and a half or so. So looking forward to trying this one. Big thank you once again to Paul Rogers for making this review possible. He gave me a couple of Irish beers to review for you here on the channel. He imports Irish products into Scotland, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you see any Irish beers on the shelves and things like that in beer shops, then probably it is him that's responsible for that. So kind of cool that we've been able to get Irish beers, because for a very long time it was just like gold dust. You could not get Irish craft beer in Scotland for love nor money, and here we are now. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from the White Hag Brewing Company before. No doubt I will add some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Irish beers that I've reviewed for you, both from the North and from the Republic, and that's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the White Hag Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, the White Hag Brewing Company are based in a little place called Ballymote in County Sligo on the west coast of Ireland, and the company was founded back in 2014. So it was started by a small group of Irish entrepreneurs, and they're now joined by brewers who've come over from the US. So Paul Mullen is the managing director, and James Ward is also one of the founders, and it was actually James who chose the name White Hag. So he's from a little place called Caish near Ballymote, and apparently there's caves there which were said to be home to 3 hags, one of which could take the form of anything, and she was known as the White Hag, and they felt that using this part of Irish mythology was a really good way to kind of represent the Irishness of these beers, and also the local area where the beers come from. So apparently the brewery had hit a few snags during the time, such as finding bottle manufacturers when they were still using bottles, of course, finding suitable bottling machines and a few other things, but they did receive considerable leader funding which helped to get the brewery off the ground, and they're starting to export their beers now as well. As I've mentioned to you, they've had them over here in Scotland for about 2 years now, something like that, and I have seen these beers over in Copenhagen when I go to Kiosk, one of my favourite beer stores, of course. But the head brewer at the brewery is Joe Cairns, and he'd previously worked as a paramedic, but then later worked for Hop and Frog in Akron, Ohio, as well as the Main Street Grill and Brewery in Garrettsville over there as well. But as I say, they've become a fairly prolific brewery, one of the more recognisable Irish craft beer brands, and as of September 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, they've produced over 60 different types of beer. They also run the Hagstravaganza every year, which is their beer festival. It usually celebrates the birthday of the brewery. The one that they've just had was their 5th Hagstravaganza, and they had over 20, I think it was about 25 different breweries the article said that they'd had, but that's quickly becoming one of the big craft beer festivals over in Ireland, and I do hope that I can get over there at some point and have a little look at it. It'd be cool to go over to Ireland and find out about some of the more, the lesser known craft beers actually. It would be awesome to go and try some of that, because the standard of Irish beer that I've tried so far has been pretty pretty damn good, so I think that's one to look at definitely in the future. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the White Hag Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the Brewery website, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that too. If you want to see a list of all the different beers that they do, you can check the website, but I would recommend you have a little look at the Rate Beer and Untappd pages as well, because they've got a very good list of the different things there. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then, so we can get rid of the brewery notes now. As I mentioned at the start of the video, this one is a 4.2% Session IPA, and apparently it has an all-Irish malt base. So that is one of the things. The Irish, or the White Hag rather, they use quite a lot of local Irish ingredients. So these beers will have a proper kind of Irish twist to them, which is always cool. But yeah, nicely presented. The artwork that they have on this one is pretty standard, to be honest with you. You'll always get a big symbol on their cans, and usually it's the backgrounds and stuff that are different colours and different patterns and things like that. It says on the side here, Little Fawn, discovered as a child on the slopes of Ben Bulben by Bran and Skeolan, this young and sprightly warrior spent his summers foraging and hunting in the mountains and woodlands. These local flavours are reflected on the tasting experience. Fruity hop notes balanced with a lush Irish malt to create a complex sessionable IPA. So yeah, see how we get on with this one. But a little 330ml can, this one. There you can see actually on the side, they must be getting ready to take this into Sweden and things, because they do have the Norwegian and Swedish pant things in there. The one on the left is the Swedish one, and the other one there is the Norwegian. So I wonder if we'll start to get these beers through Systembolaget back home. That would be quite cool. But without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. A little bit of smoke on the opening there. You can smell some of these nice juicy fruity notes coming out of this beer. So let's get it out and into the glass. There we go. A little bit of an aggressive pour there, but what are you going to do? Ah, there we go. The head will die down a little bit. That's quite a bumpy head. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, and as you would expect from an IPA, to be honest, it's poured a lovely kind of rich yellowy colour. It's actually quite hazy, this one, although it's not the haziest of IPAs that you can come across these days. So yeah, as you can see, it's a lovely kind of bright yellow colour. There's a little bit of an orangey note to it, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice. The head, you could see when it poured, was about 2 fingers, but it's died down now to just be a little bit over 1 finger. It's quite a bumpy head on this one. In terms of colour, I would say that it's a sort of creamy coloured head. But you know, overall, it does look pretty good. Some of those big bubbles, there was quite a lot of big bubbles there because I'd rinsed the glass before and the carbonation was sticking to the side of the glass. But looks really nice. As you see, if I put my fingers behind the glass, there is a fair degree of haziness to this one. So yeah, looks pretty good. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. There's nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this beer. So yeah. Oh, that smells pretty good. Now, I'm wondering straight away if there's Simcoe in here. I really think there's a bit of Simcoe in this one. To me, the Simcoe hop, it's been dropped recently really in favour of the Galaxy hop, but to me, that sort of milky, passion fruity quality that you get out of Simcoe is absolutely beautiful. So I'm wondering if it is I've got a feeling there might be a bit of Citra in here as well. I think this one might be a little bit like an old school IPA. If it's possible to say that. I think this is a Citra and Simcoe one. Yeah, that smells really nice actually. So straight away with this beer, you're going to notice how juicy the fruity side of things is. Like I say, a little bit of passion fruit in there. I think there's a good bit of a kind of mango-y note too, but you're also getting a little bit of like a lychee, gooseberry kind of complexity to it also. So yeah, lovely juicy fruity note to this beer. In terms of the green side of the hops, I would say that this one is quite grassy rather than anything else. It really is quite a grassy hop quality that's coming out of this beer. Yeah, definitely the green side of the hops, not too floral. There's a little bit of floral quality there, right enough when you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, but I would say it's mainly a nice sort of grassy hoppy quality that comes out of this beer. So yeah, that's a really nice touch to it actually. Very fresh smelling, very juicy overall. In terms of the malty side of the beer then, I think this one, it comes across as very smooth, definitely a nice white bready quality to it, maybe a little bit of a biscuity note. I want to say that it's got a little bit of an oaty creaminess to it as well. I don't know if I want to say there's wheat in there. I'm really not sure about that. So yeah, it's got a really nice, slightly oaty creaminess to it. Definitely some white bready notes, and also a bit of a kind of biscuity quality too. But there is a little pungency to it that makes me wonder if there is wheat in there. And I've just noticed there is the thing on the side here, but all it says is water, barley, hops and yeast, and I'm guessing they would say oats separately in this one if it was if it did have oats in it too. But yeah, so we'll just need to see how we get on with it then. But I think it does have a little bit of that oaty, creamy thing that you would expect of a New England IPA. So yeah, let's just have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is the Little Fawn, named after a kind of famous local, I don't know if he's mythological, but named after a sort of local Sligo warrior from the White Hag Brewing Company in Ballymote over in County Sligo in Ireland. Once again, thank you to Paul for making this review possible. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I mean, by no means is this the most adventurous beer that you're going to find from the White Hag. I mean, it's not quite as big and bold, if you like, as the Atlantean was, but it's not really intended to be either, I don't think. You know, it's a session IPA. It's one that's meant to taste good and you'll be able to, you know, down a few of them. That's what it's intended for. But, you know, it really, first impression, it really serves its purpose. You know, it's great for that. So, yeah. Yeah. This is actually one of the, it's one of the really, how do you say, it's one of the more kind of summery new, you know, new, sorry, I was going to say New England, it's one of the more kind of summery session IPAs that I've come across. I think they've got a really nice job with this one, or they've done a really nice job here. So let's try and break down this flavour a little bit then. So straight away with this beer, you're going to feel a little bit of that pale malt quality just blanket the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you do notice the further you go into the aftertaste that there is a little bit of a graininess there, but the malt base feels really quite light in this one. And I mean, it is a session IPA, so, and it's the malt, you know, the malt content that they put into these beers, those are the things that give you the alcohol. And if it's 4.2%, you don't really need to overload the beer with malt, to be honest with you. But this one has a nice light malt base to it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of, you know, kind of Pils malt or something like that. I don't know if any of the Irish malteries do a sort of Pilsner type malt to their for beers and things like that over there. So I'd be interested to know that, because this beer almost does have a little bit of that kind of Pilsnery crispness to it in the middle of your palate. So yeah, as I say, middle of your palate, there is a pale malty quality to it there. You can feel the middle of your palate dry out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, and it gives you that kind of Pilsnerish kind of quality. But then in the very centre of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness coming out of this one too, which is really quite nice. I mean, the malt base is very simple, and I wouldn't really have expected more than that from a session IPA. It's just intended to be, you know, quite nice, light, crisp and drinkable, and they've got that down to a T. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's maybe a teeny little bit of earthiness there, but as you come further forward, it does smooth out a little bit, obviously, and then you get a nice floral aromatic quality on the front corners of your palates. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, you get that lighter kind of grassy note there. But I would say the green side of the hops in this one does lean more towards the floral side of things. And indeed, if it is Simcoe and potentially Citra that's in there, it's not overly surprising that it does that, to be honest. Both of those hops can give you quite a nice floral quality, and you can feel that spreading a little bit around to the front curve of your tongue. But yeah, this is actually a really nice session IPA. It gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again, although it's, you know, it's very rare these days that I drink the same beer more than once, just because there's so many new things coming out. But that is really quite nice. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue, where the juicy fruity esters will start to roll out of the beer. So for me, this one, it has got a little bit of that. If you go to the back of that oily bubble, it does have a little bit of a kind of darker passion fruity quality. I think they were saying in the description on the website this beer was supposed to give you a lot of grapefruit and passion fruit. I don't necessarily agree with the grapefruit, to be honest. I think it's more passion fruity and mangoey, this beer, and again I really think that there's Citra and Simcoe in here. And although I'm more sure about Simcoe than I am about Citra. As I always say, I like to play guess the hops with these beers when you don't know exactly what's in them. But I think that's what's in here. So you do get a little bit of that passion fruity note at the back of the thing. That's the Simcoe that's giving you that. And I think as you come further forward on the palate there, that's when it starts to evolve to be a little bit more kind of mangoey. And that's what's making me think there's Citra in there. Citra gives you these lovely big mango flavours. But then on the front tip of the palate, if you just go behind that front curve just a little bit, you'll notice that there's a kind of limey, it's actually not limey, it's more kind of gooseberry and sort of lychee in flavours, I would say. And that's the kind of complexities that you can normally get from Citra. But yeah, it's really nice how all of these, the kind of hoppy qualities in this beer go together, and it balances really well actually. It does have that nice kind of crispness and drinkability to it, which is what you want from a session IPA. So thumbs up to the White Hag Brewing Company for this one. I mean, they've done a good job of this, and by no means is this their most adventurous beer, but nor does it claim to be. It is just a nice easy drinking sessionable IPA. So yeah, they've done a good job here. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer, it's at the bottom end of mid-bodied, top end of light-bodied. It comes across as very clean as well, and I've said this about Scottish beers, Irish beers, Norwegian, Icelandic and things like that. The quality of the water that you get in Scotland and Ireland is very, very good, and it really just gives you the impression that the beers are very, very clean. It makes them feel a little bit wetter in the mouth, in my opinion, rather than feeling a little bit more oily, and you get that from this beer as well. So with this one, in terms of the mouthfeel, then, like I say, light-bodied, yeah, light-bodied, carbonation's a little bit crisp in this one. Overall, I think it's fair to say that the mouthfeel in this beer is quite wet. The malt base is quite smooth, a little bit crisp as I was mentioning earlier. There's a little touch of sweetness from biscuity notes in there, you get that a little bit later on. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think that there's a little bit of you know, there is a little bit of a floral quality to this one. It's not quite spicy, but I'd say we're talking about 30. We're talking, oh, no, not even that, maybe about 20 IBUs in this beer. A little bit of juicy fruity quality. It has that kind of darker tropical note to it, and that lingers into the aftertaste. A bit of the kind of crispness lingers there too, and you've got a nice bit of the floral quality there as well. So this, at the same time, this beer does have that kind of refreshing aspect to it that you would want of a session IPA. So yeah, thumbs up to White Hag Brewing Company for this one. As I've repeated, not one of their more adventurous beers, but it's not intended to be, which is the thing. But a really nice sessionable IPA, this one, and quite a summery beer in my opinion, which is no problem at all. But I think it's quite classic as well, using, I'm pretty sure this one uses Citra and Simcoe as in its hop bill, and there's nothing wrong with that. Two very, very nice hops. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This is the Little Fawn Session IPA at 4.2% from the White Hag Brewing Company in Ballymote in County Sligo on the west coast of Ireland. So yeah, been cool to return to this brewery after a little while, so let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the White Hag Brewing Company as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.